Okay, so you want me to look for something that's...
Right. So we're in an area where there's something that doesn't belong in this area.
Right.
Okay. So, and these are things that we're looking for. We're looking for these visual indicators of activity. So there is something in the general vicinity that does not belong here.
Okay.
The point is to be able to identify it.
Right.
You know, you wouldn't necessarily know that there's
Right.
something here, but this is part of that scanning.
Yeah.
You know, looking. And when you're scanning, obviously you have your immediates, your medium, and your far away. And a lot of times when folks scan, there's different schools of thought on it. A lot of it's just how your brain works and analyzes information. But most people they'll start with looking further away and then working their way up to right in front of them and then move on. And then the scanning of going, most of us we're going to scan left to right. That's a natural thing. Anytime you're looking at something, you go left to right. Get in the habit of going right, going the opposite way of your normal scanning because you pick different things out.
Right.
So as we're walking through here, and you said to me that you noticed something. What did you
We're
notice?
up ahead, and I was scanning, and what I'm looking for something that is not natural looking, that's man-made.
Right.
That is possibly a different color. It could be camouflage, but it'll still be a little bit different than the environment.
Correct.
And as I scanned, I saw that dark object that stood out to me. And it's just that rise, and the rise is starting to go down, and it's behind a tree, and
I don't know how well you folks can see that.
from my eye, it looks like it is some type of blind.
So this is a good point, the fact that you used your rifle scope to
Right.
help identify something. Because a lot of times, and this is an argument a lot of folks have, is, should you rely on only your rifle scope for point of identification, or should you carry a set of binoculars or a monocular? What would be that ideal setup? Obviously, we're in a heavily wooded environment, so magnification wise, you're only going to be able to see so far. But from a security perspective,
Right.
to be able to, even from, I don't know, how far away are we from that, 30 yards?
Yeah.
To be able to get a little bit of a closer view so that we can now start working identifying that. So what we would want to do, and you did this right off the bat, I said, well, once we identified that there was something there and pointed it out, you made a beeline for it.
Right.
Right? The easier way of, or the better way of doing it, the more secure way of doing it is we don't know if it's occupied or not.
True.
We could set up do a little bit of a halt here and stop, look, listen, smell, and see if we can pick anything out, have concealment, see if, hopefully we haven't been identified by then. That would suck to get rolled up right off the bat. But wait it out, see if you hear anything, see anything, smell anything, and then start working a 360 degree around it. Come around it instead of making a beeline for it, and then slowly close in on it.
Right.
That would be the better, all the while looking for any kind of tripwires, booby traps. Shouldn't be a thing. I don't even know if we're allowed to talk about that or not, but these are things that you want to look for.
They're potential issues for sure.
Absolutely. So it's important out here that you and once again, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you need to take your time with that. And that's something that is something that we were hoping not to see out here. But now that we do see it, it should raise your alert level a bit, because once again, you are not alone.
Right.
Somebody has been out here.
Right.
We have the footprint indicators from the railroad tracks if we were tracking. Now we have this. Okay, now 2 + 2 does equal 4.
Right.
Contrary to popular belief today, 2 + 2 = 4. Something's up. So now we can change our posture again. We can make other plans. We can radio, mark it on a map. That's something we're going to want to mark things like that on a map, so that we can come back to identify it later, or to keep an eye on it even. So yeah, good stuff.
Good. All right, so that's the object we've circled around, right?
Right. So this is a perfect case where, so we see this off in the distance, but we're not able to determine whether it's something that's actively being used or how long it's been here. But now that we've done a 360 around the area to help kind of get a more of a lay of the land and see what else there might be, are there tracks coming and going from it? You know, what else is there? What other indicators are there? Now that we've determined it's safe to come up upon it, we look at it, it's obviously old. This has been here a long time.
Right.
At least, I mean, it's collapsed, there's snow on it. No one's climbing in and out of there. That is an old blind. So that there's no, so obviously somebody has been here, but it's been a while.
Yeah, there's no fresh tracks leading to it.
No.
At all. And like you said, it's collapsed. Well, and if any, you know, if you so the decision to be made is, do you need the resources? Do you collect it and
Right.
for evidence, or do you leave it so that they don't know that you are in the area?
Right. So do you set up a deterrent? Do you
Right.
set up signs? Do you set up game cameras on it? Like what approach do you want to take to this?
Right.
Do you want to report this to the sheriff's department, or do you just want to notate it to be like, all right, I know somebody's been on the backside of my property? Because if you do collect it up, then they know you know.
Where's my shit?
Which isn't a bad thing.
No.
Because that is, when we were talking about different types of patrols, you know, that's a show of force of saying, hey, I'm here and I know you've been here. That is if they come back.
Yep.
So that could definitely be a deterrent to somebody to say, oh crap, like somebody got my stuff.
Yeah, you'll do the same thing with hunting. You know,
Yeah.
if you got land and someone's hunting your property and they put up a tree stand, well, you cut a couple straps.
Right.
And then when they come back, they're like, oh crap, I've been
Somebody
caught.
knows.
Right,
Yep,
I better get out of
absolutely.
here. Yeah.
Or put up a sign. Maybe have some laminated signs made up that say, smile, you're on camera. You know? I mean,
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
because all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, like,
Yeah, they're looking around.
Yep.
Right.
so
Cool.
that's that.
So even a camouflaged item stands out because of the shape of it, and
Right.
it's just different.
And from a distance, I mean, there's a lot of straight lines here in the woods. You see a lot of, especially with the trees that are falling and the snow line on them, it creates a very distinctive line as you're looking out into the distance. This created a very distinctive line.
It did. And for me, when I saw it, was more the darkness. Because usually when I'm looking for stuff, and especially when I was looking for people, you're always looking for colors and shades that stand out from the rest of the
Right.
terrain, because the terrain tends to all blend, and dark objects usually are silhouettes of something, man-made, a person, an animal.
Yeah.
It's all very similar.
So no, this was good. This was, I mean, this is what you're looking for. I mean, in reality, these are things that when you're doing your property patrols, these are things you're looking for. I mean, great visual indicator.
Yeah, cool.
And so you can plan accordingly then to it. So yeah,
Nice.
good stuff.
Cool.
Right on. All right. Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I'm tired.
I'll start it off. How about that? All right, guys, we're back. We excuse. You have to excuse the laughing. We literally sat down to do this, and Wendell just goes, "Oh, my back!" Like, we had a long day out in the field, and it was really good. I think
Yes.
we both really enjoyed ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think we achieved our goal of the idea was the mission profile was in a normal time like we are now was really about patrolling two edges of the property that
that would be common areas for possible poaching to happen or to occur. So it was kind of the idea was to go and try to see if we could identify anything that was out of place, something that wouldn't belong. Tracking, looking for footprints, obviously lots of animal footprints, things like that based on the information that we had available to us from the property owner. And we talked about the pros and cons of walking on trails and then walking off of trails from a patrolling perspective, crossing linear danger areas, times when, and you'll see in the video where, we see something that's out of place that shouldn't be there, and the pros and cons of approaching it directly or working our way around it to make sure that the area is safe to further investigate it. Things like that. So that was really, and then we were on trail for a while. We went off trail for quite a while. And really, we used a lot of dead reckoning for navigation, used a lot of dead reckoning, used a lot of terrain association for finding our way around. Like literally, we looked at the map real quick before we even left camp. But that was the last time we looked at it. I think a lot of that is not just familiarity with the property, but also just knowing what to pay attention to as far as navigation goes when you're out and about.
You know the property, but I never felt like I was disoriented or lost. Because there was enough boundary types, like with the railroad beds and fields, and that I felt like I always knew where I was at. It was very easy to do that.
Yeah, that's good, and that comes down to really that aspect of getting out and exploring and doing. It all comes back to, I know you guys hear me preach it a lot. It's all about doing your area studies. Like that's a biggie. Just becoming familiar with your area, so that you don't need to necessarily reference a map while you're going. Got snowed on a little bit in the middle of it. We stopped to take a long lunch break. That was good. Talked about our kid a little bit. I mean, what was the highlight for you? Or maybe what was the surprise, or what was something that you learned that you didn't expect? What do you think?
Well, definitely the linear danger area is something I've never done before, so that was a big learning experience. That was cool. I liked hearing about that. It all made sense. The way you explained it was very basic for me. I could pick up on it easily. The one thing where you had me look and find the one thing that was out of place, and I was able to find it pretty quickly. But what was interesting was my experience was like, oh, I better go over there and see what's up, and you're like, whoa, we need to do a circle around to make sure that it's safe. And it's like, I didn't even think about that. So that was a big learning experience. It's like, you need to think about the potential dangers when you find stuff you don't know.
So you don't want to act in haste on it. You need to have that mindset of, okay, hold up. So let's dissect this now. And what's the next step to do this, to make sure we're safe doing it, or to at least to minimize any danger that there could be, because there very well could be.
Sure.
So that's awesome. And then you actually had a not an equipment failure, but when we stopped for lunch, what happened that you?
So the MRE that I purchased and brought with me specifically to eat for today, the heater didn't work at all, and so I had to go back to my secondary food that I always bring. I always bring stuff that I can eat that doesn't require cooking. And I was able to snack, and that was enough to get me back to camp, no problem. I mean, you don't need that much food, really. None of us do, but that was kind of eye-opening. It's like, okay, this crap may not work.
Absolutely.
And then what are you going to do?
Absolutely. Like Murphy's Law, right?
Exactly.
And that's a situation where the nice thing at least with MREs, or that style of food, that you can eat that cold if you needed to.
Sure.
It's not as enjoyable, but you could certainly, if it presented itself and that's what you had to do, that's what you do. But we see a lot of folks reliant on Mountain House and
yeah.
Alpine Air and these other freeze-dried meals. Now you're left with having to hydrate that in cold water.
Yep.
So could you do it? Absolutely.
Sure.
Would it work? Yeah.
Right.
But it's just that now it's that extra step you have to take. So that you have to think about these, little things that could possibly disrupt what you were trying to do. So
Yeah.
that was, I don't want to say that was good that we had a equipment failure out
Yeah.
there, but it's eye-opening to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't rely on that as much
Right.
for my heat source or
Yep.
whatever it may be,
No,
or
absolutely.
rethink ration kits for what may make more sense.
Yep.
Just from a simplicity point of view, I guess, more than anything else.
I think the other big thing for me was, shooting your rifle at a range, right? It's very static. It's very controlled. Carrying a rifle in the field with gear, I really figured out how I should be wearing my sling properly,
Mhm.
how much wearing it different ways affects the fatigue on my neck and my shoulders.
Absolutely.
So that was a good learning experience in itself. It's like, okay, I was able to quickly, through some of your suggestions, like readjust a few things. I actually switched around the side that I had my sling on.
Oh, okay. I
back
didn't
to
see
the
that. I
other
didn't catch
side
you do that.
because it
Yeah.
was catching. But you don't ever experience that if you're just static at a range,
Right.
shooting off a sandbag.
Yeah.
You got to go out and walk in this, unimproved terrain.
Go up and down hills, in and out of drainages
Yeah.
and ravines, and
Exactly.
balance across fallen trees and everything else that goes with it.
Right.
Plus, add in the wet snow and the cold and the wind, and
Yeah.
it all plays
And then to be safe, you want to, because you're walking with someone in front of you, so I don't want to flag you.
right.
There's safety considerations. So all that is, if you don't go out and try it, which I've not done much of this, coming
Right.
out here was very eye-opening. It was great training.
Awesome. I'm glad. That's
Yeah.
what we wanted out of this. We wanted a learning experience, and we wanted, and not just networking
Sure.
wise, but just getting that field experience. It's huge.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
And I think now, like, you're going to yearn for even more
Yeah.
info. So
Oh, for
that
sure.
is like the journey has started,
Yes.
and it really opens up perspective on things. But I think we did a great job today with having a lot of context
Right.
within why certain things were done certain ways. So
Yeah.
that was,
I would
I
agree.
thoroughly enjoyed it. So
Good.
I'm glad you were willing to come join me
Yeah.
out here and
Yeah.
for good stuff.
I have a feeling we're going to be doing more of this.
I think so. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
for
we work
sure.
pretty well together.
I
Yeah.
agree for
Yeah.
sure. Good
Great.
stuff.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Jay.
you.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Cool. Very cool.